Hi BookTube, it's Amy. I'm back reading from the Anatomy of Bibliomania by Holbrook Jackson. I just managed to drop the book on my foot, and it's quite a hefty book, so I'm sitting here reading with a bit of a sore big toe. But we're on to the next part of the book, titled Books Pharmaceutically Disposed. The first section here being titled Their Medicinal Properties Generally Considered. The medicinal properties of books are well known to the learned and a favorite theme with philosophers and students. They are medicinal, stringent, useful drugs and materials wherewith to temper and compose effective and strong medicines. As the poet Henry Vaughan well sang, by sucking you the wise like bees do grow healing and rich. No cause for wonder here if we refer all this to the narrow suture of the spirit and the body, intercommunicating their fortunes one unto another. That being a line there from Montaigne's of the Force of Imagination. As in all times, physicians have noted the close connection and ready intercourse between the minds and bodies of men, and the histories are full of evidence of defects responding to mental, spiritual, emotional, and other non-medicinal treatments which in some ages have been accounted miraculous. The curative properties of the arts are well known, medicine itself being as much an art as a science, if not more. Inventum est Medicina meum, said Apollo. And if we are to believe Varro, Pliny, and Columella, most of the best medicines of the Greeks were derived from his oracles, as many in all ages have been derived prophylactics from colors, sounds, forms, and words aesthetically disposed. Melody has many notable records in this respect, as Saul was helped by David's harp. Such sweet compulsion doth in music lie. Our footnote pointing us to Milton's Arcades. In olden times, wounds were cured by song, as Apelles contends out of Homer, that the blood of Ulysses was thus stayed as it gushed from the wound by a chanted ditty. And Aulus Gellius gives an instance out of Theophastrius of people being cured of gouty pains by the soothing measures of a flute player, which is supported by Democritus, who holds that flute music is a remedy for snake bites and many other maladies. Eloquence, which is words and feelings harmoniously arranged, is no less efficacious whether applied to the ills of particular persons or to the body politic, as when Demosthenes, by the medicine of his words of praise, healed the distemper of the Athenians, so that they were brought to pride themselves no less on the battle against Philip than on the triumphs won at Marathon and Salamis. Aches and pains often, as we know, trouble many without just physical cause, and there can be little doubt that it is these which yield most readily to a prescription of books. Cardan doubtless had this in mind when he called a library the physic of the soul, where divine authors fortify the mind, make men bold and constant, for, as Hyperius adds, godly conference will not permit the mind to be tortured with absurd cognitions. Many memorable cures are examples of the efficacy of psychotherapy. A curious instance is cited out of his own experience by Samuel Butler. A young man came to him in a flood of tears over the loss of his grandmother, of whose death at the age of 93 he had just heard. Butler tried all the panacea without effect, and was on the point of giving up in despair when he thought of crossing the sorrow-stricken man with the ancient ballad of Wednesday Calking, with the result that he brightened up instantly and departed in as cheerful a state as he had been before in a desponding one. Such methods are well known, and are much in favor for lulling the sorrows of children, for whom all manner of crude and primitive verse are reliable soothing syrups. And I shall presently show how the most physical of maladies respond to a treatment of books. But before coming to the cures, I must take my generalization yet a step farther. So to follow this equality or correspondence between books and medicine yet a little, I may mention how many have discerned a chemical relationship, both in their appearance and condition. as Plato when he compares Socrates to the apothecary's gallipot that had owls, apes, and satyrs on the outside, but precious drugs within, or Amiel when he asserts that Victor Hugo draws in sulfuric acid. And Byron means no less when, in a request to John Murray, he does not scruple to mix soda powders, Acton's corn rubbers, and Scott's romances. A library pharmaceutically disposed, says one, would have the appearance of a dispensatory and might properly enough be so called. He is supported by no less an authority than Dr. Oliver Wendell Holmes, who looks upon a library as a mental chemist shop filled with the crystals of all forms and hues which come from the union of thought with local circumstances and universal principle. For he supposes that a man's mind does in time form a neutral salt with the elements in the universes for which it has special elective affinities, which the Countess of Blessington also discovers in her diagnosis of poets as the chemists of sentiment. The same doctrine is taught by Richard Le Gallienne, who stoutly maintains that the library will ultimately take the place of the dispensary, and instead of giving us prescriptions of nauseous drugs, the physician will write down the titles of delightful books, books tonic or narcotic, stimulating or sedative, as our need may be. After all this, it is no wonder to find that a library is a hospital, as George Crabbe describes it in a verse of his, where mental wealth the poor in thought may find, and mental physic the diseased in mind. In a collection of books he sees remedies for many ills, but mostly that balm of Gilead which alleviates sick souls. See here the balms that passion's wounds assuage, see coolers here that damp the fire of rage, here alteratives by slow degree control the chronic habits of the sickly soul, and round the heart and o'er the aching head mild opiates here their sober influence spread. Quoting some lines of poetry from the library. When we recall how many of our older book collectors have been doctors, we cannot resist the notion that such benefactors of literature as Radcliffe, Mead, Sloane, Hunter, etc., had this advantage in mind when founding their libraries. And now let us examine the particular evidences of the medicinal properties and their pharmacopoeial status. But that brings us to the end of that section there. The next one being titled Preservatives and Prophylactics, which will continue on this theme of books as medicine. But we'll end it there for today.